Are you spending all your time researching before you start a project again? We're the same. Hello, my name is Grace, and I recently completed the 12-week course known as The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, a book about unblocking your creativity and healing the artist within. I decided to take the course because I've been feeling creatively blocked for several years now, since high school in fact, and I saw a lot of really awesome results with The Artist's Way. I know it's not for everybody. I know there are some spiritual elements to it that don't resonate with everybody, but coming from someone who was raised religious and rejected it at a very early age, I still found a lot of value from this book, and I would recommend it to anyone who feels like they could use it. But today I wanted to share with you 5 things that I'm glad I did before starting The Artist's Way that I think really helped me get the most out of the experience. So if you're the type of person who likes to research a lot of things and get really prepared before you just dive in, like me, this might be a good video for you to watch. But just to be clear, these are not things that you need to do before starting The Artist's Way by any means at all. These are just some things that I took away from my personal experience that I think helped, especially because the book was written in the 90s and it's 2025. So these are things that kind of helped modernize my experience, for lack of a better way of saying that. So yeah, take what works and leave what doesn't. The first one on the list is that I simultaneously took an art course for technical skills at the same time that I was doing the Artist's Way course. I decided to start a color theory course with the artist Alaiga Nusa, and it really helped me explode with a lot more creativity than I would have otherwise. It helped teach me a lot of practical tools and strategies to actually get my oil paints on the paper and look how I wanted them to. So this was really encouraging really quickly. And to couple that with The Artist's Way, I think you will see a lot more results if you are simultaneously growing your technical skills at the same time as your mental blocks clear. It will accelerate the rate at which those mental blocks clear up because you are starting to feel like things are working. You have someone guiding you, at least that's something that really helps me. So yeah, I think this was incredibly helpful because while Julia's writing is helping you overcome these spiritual and mental blocks that you're experiencing, a technical course to help your skills in whatever medium you're interested in can help you by providing assignments over time, getting feedback from an instructor, and you're able to see tangible improvements on the paper as well, or whatever your medium is, if it's music or whatever, dance, you name it. So I would recommend taking a class if you have the funds to do it. There's also a lot of free online courses that you can take as well, or just pick someone on YouTube that you want to start going through their catalog of stuff and just make sure you make the commitment to actually do that at a rate that works for you and have like a schedule of that kind of thing. The second thing on the list that I'm glad that I did before starting The Artist's Way was doing a test drive of the morning pages. One thing I did before officially starting the 12-week course was just read through enough to kind of understand what Julia calls the 2 basic principles of the course, the morning pages and the artist dates. I took a couple weeks to experiment with the morning pages, not worrying about the length or what the content was or how I was doing them. It was just to kind of feel out, where do I like to write these? Do I like to write them on paper? Do I like to type them? Do I like to sit on that bed over there? Do I like to sit on the couch? Do I like to go outside to write them? How does this fit in with my routine of eating breakfast and having coffee and that sort of thing? This will allow you to kind of figure out what works best for you early on and just kind of get comfortable in your space. The third thing that I did before starting The Artist's Way, and you can skip the rest of the video after you read this one because I think this is the best one, was subscribe to a local arts and culture newsletter for your area. Basically, I just searched local arts in my area. I found this newsletter, and it has been extremely helpful when trying to figure out what to do for artist dates, especially if you're trying to save money and you don't want to go to the movie theater or restaurant every week and keep blowing money on all of your artist dates, because while that would be great and it does feel really nice to treat yourself, especially in that week of abundance that you may or may not know about, it is a little hard to sustain, especially if you're unemployed. And the Arts and Culture newsletter is a really good way to find events. First of all, they're not all free, but a lot of them are, and you have the opportunity to get involved with your local art community. So it's just kind of wins all around. A major hurdle for going on the artist dates is the money, unfortunately, and I personally think the book underestimates how expensive things can get. But I mean, I don't think Julia could have predicted how bad inflation would be and how greedy these corporations would get over time. But the newsletter can be a great way to get involved in your community, like I said, and it doesn't always cost you an arm and a leg. If your city doesn't have a newsletter option like this, try checking out your local library. A lot of them will have big brochures full of all of the events that they're planning to do this week or this season or month or whatever. And a lot of those will be free as well, or donation-based. And you may even just use something like your city's government website to look for events. Facebook or Eventbrite are also options. And if you do the program in the spring or summer, there will be no shortage of events around you, I guarantee. The fourth thing that I did before starting The Artist's Way was not really a thing I did before, and it's not really something you can do, but I just planned to start The Artist's Way in late winter. I started in February, so there was a little bit of difficulty doing some of the seasonal tasks, like she asks you to go outside and collect flowers, and there were no flowers in late February when I started. So starting in late winter does give you the advantage of kind of watching the seasons change as you change as well. So I'm really glad that I did this, and the timing of it felt appropriate. And you can always save those flower collecting tasks for later. I personally wouldn't get to every single task every week, so I just had a little queue of things that I had to bring back up and complete later, and I ended up getting through most of them. I think the only one I never did was design a postcard, but it's still on my to-do list. It's a really cool feeling to kind of be in sync with nature in that way, because as you are still feeling blocked in the early weeks of this process, you will feel kind of blocked from the outside world as well. There won't be that much going on. It'll be hard to go to events and places that you want to go to because they're not open yet. And then as you go through the program, those things will start to open up more as you open up, and it's just a really cool experience. The fifth thing that I did before starting The Artist's Way is quit my corporate job. Okay, so I know this one is not for everyone, and it is not always accessible or practical for people. But for me, I think this was a good choice for several reasons, and I was already really struggling with my job and working in corporate in particular, and just doing a 9-to-5 specifically. I was really depressed. I had no inspiration, no energy, and the work itself was not really aligned with my values. And all of those things started to just become really hard to ignore. And at this point, I have already tried a lot of things. I've tried faking it. I tried talking to my managers. I tried seeking out more creative projects. I tried working harder. I tried slacking off. I tried talking to my therapist. I moved back to my hometown. I took some vacation time. Nothing was making me feel better about my role there. I reached a point where I just kind of had to take stock of myself, my values, and my finances, my goals, and most importantly, my support system. A lot of this decision I do attribute to the first few chapters of the book, where she talks about unlearning negative core beliefs and letting go of things that aren't working for you, and habits and just behaviors that are holding you back. After about a week of doing the morning pages and kind of seeing what I was complaining about all the time, and having this reinforcement of I will be okay, I decided it was time to go ahead and quit. Just to be clear, the book does not advocate for you quitting your job specifically. In fact, Julia talks about how the book is kind of meant to teach you that you can fit creativity into your life without having to make major changes like that might not be right for you. But I truly felt like I would not be able to commit myself to my recovery and growth unless I kind of shed this identity that I was trying to be in a 9-to-5 working position. My advice would be that if you are struggling with your mental health, take stock of your finances, your goals, And if you don't have any goals, that might be another indicator that something needs to change. Or if your goals are just like really bare, like I just want to afford food and like rent and that's it, that is totally legitimate as well. But it might also be a sign that you are just in survival mode. And so again, I would take stock of your finances, your goals, and your support system, and who you will be able to rely on if you have something go wrong. What is the worst case scenario? Do you see yourself having options to get out of that? Do you see yourself as someone who can reach out and ask for help and do what you need to do? Take your time with this decision if it's something that you are struggling with. I know this is kind of getting off topic a little bit, but trust in the universe while also staying smart, and make sure you have friends and support around you to help you if things get really tough. So that is all 5 of my tips for before you start the Artist's Way. If any of them are helpful, I hope that you'll leave a comment and maybe give the little like button a click on your screen. And just a bonus tip, if you are thinking about recording and posting your progress every week during the check-ins, because there are weekly check-ins with the Artist's Way, just be aware of how time-consuming that might become and commit to them not needing to be perfect. Just make them for yourself. If video editing is something that you want to prioritize, and public speaking and getting better in front of a camera, which is something that I wanted to get a little bit better at, just be aware of how time-consuming it can be, and don't let it get in the way of the skills that you originally started the course to improve. If you get halfway through editing a video and realize like something's off or wrong or whatever, just finish editing and post it. Don't start all over and spend a whole afternoon dealing with that. So anyway, those are the 5 things that I think were beneficial to do before I started the Artist's Way. Again, I do not think these were required, but I do think they really accelerated my growth and made certain tasks more accessible. I hope at least a couple of them were helpful for you too. If you have any thoughts or questions for me, be sure to leave a comment. Let me know if you have other tips as well that might be related to the ones that I brought up here. And if you like this video, please consider checking out my sister video on 5 things I wish I did before starting the Artist's Way, which includes 5 totally separate things that you could potentially use to prepare for your 12-week journey as well. Thanks for watching, and good luck!